Hello and welcome to another episode of Star Wars Destiny of the Force. When we last left off, our heroes had been on adventures on the world of Athos and Rossoswai, entangling with bounty hunters and new rogue imperial figure by the name of Arcos Vane. Now, through separate reasons but similar goals, our heroes all travel to the rogue outer rim world of Takodana. As the silver gleaming starship of the Jade Shadow comes out of hyperspace and heads down toward a green and blue world. Soul, you and Rey are in the cockpit of the ship, flying it down toward the planet. Grumblock, you are currently with your guest, Daran Silvar, making small talk about various Jedi things, what little he knows about it. And you can see out the viewport of the ship and the cockpit for the pilots. This large, just swath of green forested land, approaching large basins of water, lakes, and small little streams. Fairly hilly environment, but not too mountainous. And as you head toward one of these larger basins of water, you see this sprawling, small kind of cityscape built along the edge, marked by several castle-like structures, including one that just goes for several stories up into the air. Flags and banners draped all over the city, likely marking different territories and different groups that choose to inhabit these areas. As you head down, you see that the docking areas are actually on the water, little stations nestled out amongst the edge, where you can touch down and then head into the coastal city proper. Soul, as you're beginning your checks to descend, there is no contacting from the flight controllers beyond a basic just greeting of your ship and telling you where to land. Rey has been doing everything very quietly, still very seemingly conflicted after your adventures on Athos and encounter with Arcos Vane and the Revenant. Begin to touch down. He seems like she's in much a rush to get up and away.
After feeling that, Soul's just gonna turn to Ray and be like, "Why don't you let Grumblock and them know that we'll be exiting soon? I can handle this."
She just kind of nods and doesn't say anything and stretches up a bit before leaving. You do anything in the cockpit other than landing procedures.
Other than probably muttering to himself, like, like the conversation he wanted to have with Ray, sort of having it to himself.
And yeah, Grumblock, you would see Ray go by the area you and Darren were hanging out and just kind of shouting out, "We're here!" And you can see she's already activating the exit ramp of the ship to try and get out of it. R8 following close behind her.
You are in a great rush, Miss Dameron. Are you eager to explore this world?
Eager for fresh air.
Yes, this recycled atmosphere is not good for my lungs.
Darren, who's clearly never been on a. It's okay. Who's clearly never been on a luxury ship like what the Jade Shadow was built to be. Just kind of shrugs and says, "Best air I've ever had."
Daran, you are young and you do not know the goodness of the air we will breathe outside. I am confident the Takadana air will be better than the Jade Shadow air.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's not bad. Some of the smells, though. And you just see him kind of shaking his head as he's heading toward the ramp to follow Ray off the ship.
Yes, the smells.
But yeah, Soul, as you're in the cockpit, you see R2 roll up and connect to his astromech interface, basically beeping out to you that he'll finish up with the ship and then join you as soon as it's all locked up and safe.
Sounds good, Uncle. We can't be too safe here.
He beeps back that his records on Takadana don't indicate that it'll be too dangerous as long as the ship systems are locked. You get the impression he's been here before.
Interesting. Soul will make a note to ask him about it later. Yeah, Soul's gonna get his stuff and prepare to head out.
Daran, tell me the history of this world. I noticed many castles on our approach.
Yeah, as you're all disembarking, Soul, I'd say you'd be catching up by the time Darren's kind of talking about this. And as you're exiting out onto the ship, you're on this narrow, half wood, half metal dock that's leading you into the initial kind of, not even spaceport area, just kind of vendors that are clearly set up to support people who might need something right off the ship. And you're immediately greeted with colors of just splashes of color everywhere on banners and flags, kind of what was mentioned as you flew in, as well as a barrage of smells and scents. Is clearly a lot of food is prepared right here, and there's an almost restaurant air. You see lanterns hanging by the corners of buildings that are modestly decorated. This is no Tatooine dive for really anything you guys are used to for pirate havens or the like. This has a sense of higher responsibility and more effort almost. And as Darren's leading you into this, and you're just getting hit by smells in every direction, some pleasant, some not so much, as depending on the foods and the species that would enjoy them. You see some hanging meats and fruits and boiling pots. He kind of gives you the basic history that is, this tends to be where criminals go to, where some of the like better end of criminals go to retire. And so they have a vested interest in keeping this place nice rather than the cheapest it can be. It's free of hut control, which they're very proud of, though the huts do occasionally visit as guests for either business or otherwise. And while it is popular for retirement, there is plenty of business that's still done here. Due to the age and knowledge generally of the residents, there tends to be more of a focus on art, relics, kind of history of the galaxy. There's a lot of longer lived species live here. Grumblock, you would actually see as you're moving through the streets another Dwadan or two. So a lot of longer lived species tend to make who kind of live in the underworld tend to make this place their home if they're not deep into other activities. There's a relatability to that, and that's why even hut guests aren't necessarily rebuked as long as they're acting responsibly. Because it's appreciated to have their knowledge of their lives. And so yeah, as Darren's leading you through, he's telling you all this and then ends with, and more or less the rule is you don't cause trouble with anyone, they won't cause trouble with you.
I have no intention of causing trouble.
And Grumblock will watch me. That's all Soul says.
Ray just rolls her eyes.
So, Darren, where's the more atmospheric gatherings going on for these freighters of goods?
He points toward the largest castle and says here tends to be where most of the kind of things I think the Jedi would be interested in take place. Several floors of activities, stalls, vaults on the lower levels. Good place to hang around. And he looks to you and says, and that he could almost has a shy look for a moment, and that Zeltron, Iris, the one you were talking about, she hangs around there.
Good. Her and our boss could help with us tracking down the information we need.
Yeah, I don't know anything about who she works for, except they deal in relics.
Now, Grumblock, there's going to be a lot of people with information relics and spreading around different types of lore. You got to stay focused on the information we're looking for.
Little Skywalker, I have all the time in the galaxy to learn this information. I can return to this planet once our task is done.
And Darren also says, oh, one other thing. While they don't disapprove of you guys, in fact, a lot of people here admire those with the Force. If you don't want to be swarmed, you might want to be subtle.
People tend to make assumptions about my species. If it will help, I shall not deter those assumptions.
Soul's just staring at Grumblock and Soul wearing old Jedi battle armor. Like, yeah, we'll be subtle.
Yeah, he kind of looks at that and goes, kind of looks at Ray, who's the only like relatively blendable one of you all, and just says, "Good luck," and then you see him beginning to head toward the large castle. You can obviously follow him, or you can, if you have other things you would like to look into or explore, that's your choice.
Groblock will eventually go to the castle, but he's been on the ship a long time, and he would like to try one of the local delicacies.
Oh boy.
Well, Soul had me, or Grumblock had Soul at that, so he's going with Grumblock.
Okay. Ray is going, with our aid, is going to head off toward the castle with Darren. Thing she'll see you guys later.
Soul will nod, and he'll also add, perhaps we should have dinner later and discuss everything that's happened.
She doesn't really react to that beyond acknowledging she heard it, and then continues off. You get the impression that whatever you guys were going to do, she was going to do something different.
Soul just turns to Grumblock. Little ones, am I right?
Miss Dameron needs time to collect her thoughts.
Yes, she's very conflicted. If I would be open to any help that you could give in that regards.
I would exercise the greatest skill my species has: patience.
Soul starts to move towards the food and just sort of says, "You asked the impossible."
Yeah, so you're able to find one of the fellow Dwarton vendors, and he sees the Grumblock approach and immediately begins preparing this. You could see him preparing like this massive kind of large, like long chain of meat, just slamming it into a pot with a big splash.
As I approach the other Dwarton, I'd like to stand to my full height and stare him in the eye and see how he reacts. I'm hoping I'm taller than him. I should be. I'm very old.
Yes, you would be. Yeah, it's as you stand like tall, he kind of acknowledges that, and you see him grab some large like plant like stalks, and just as you straighten up, he grabs one extra stalk and puts it into the pot.
I'll just give him a quick nod, and I'll say, "Thank you, brother. We shall be sitting over here."
Yeah, there's due to the variety of species, the seating areas look very flexible. So there's kind of almost every seating area has sort of a large booth-like bench and then multiple movable kind of chairs. So it's very easy for you to find one that Grumblock can comfortably sit in one of the booth chairs while Soul can take one of the more regular ones.
Given Soul's ambitious palate, he just sort of turns before following Grumblock. I'll have what he's having, and then follows Grumblock over there.
Yeah, so...
A contest, Skywalker?
Of course, we need to bond if we are to be traveling together.
Ah, competition. Let us see if you can best the mighty Grumblock.
As the large tray, almost a medical gurney-sized tray, is brought over by the Doatan, who has to carry part of it on his shoulder because of the weight of the meat. Comes over and he slams it down in front of you, this large, hulking piece of meat that seems very well boiled and seared, little bits of smoke coming off of the very end. And you see lots of kind of varnishes and decorations, and those stalks of leaves seem to be around the edge and have been cooked with it to probably add some flavor. And seemingly in response to what you said earlier, Soul, this very long thing is kind of placed in front of the two of you, kind of so one end is pointing toward Grumblock and the other end pointing toward you. And you see him take a large cleaving knife, and about 15% of the way from you to Grumblock, he just slams it down into the meat, kind of separating 85% of it toward him and 15% toward you. And then he just grunts to both of you and says, "Pay when you're done." Heads back over to his pot to start working on more food.
Soul immediately grabs the food from him and starts trying to eat both hands and starts double fisting whatever he can grab as fast as he can.
I shall be sporting, Skywalker. You shall have a head start.
Yeah, it's I'd say it's sort of a almost stringy rib-like kind of meat, so you're able to kind of grab it and pick it up, but it does break apart pretty easily.
That's good.
Yeah, so it's a lot to hold and definitely a lot to eat, but it's not difficult to eat, I would say. So, yeah, as... Oh. What were you starting to say there, Gareth?
I said I'll give him 5 minutes and then I'll just start eating huge handfuls at a time. Tearing it apart with my claws.
Yeah, and you can tell the kind of the bits of stalk that are from while the leaves don't really look edible, the stalks look like they're meant to kind of help cleanse the palate a little as you're eating, add some variety. So the leaves look mostly like they're burned or kind of boiled off. So Yeah, as the two of you dig in, the focus shifts over to the large castle as Darren walks inside, followed by Ray. Darren is quickly greeted by some people that recognize him, and he doesn't pay much attention to Ray, and she just kind of shrugs to herself and begins walking into the castle further. Sounds of loud music playing, and this seems like a lot of people generally having a good time. There's a bit of a bar and drinking area right when you walk into the castle. She has her full gear kit on her, so her staff and rifle to her back, and her lightsaber hilt she did conceal after what Darren mentioned. But otherwise, her white athletic clothes kind of cover everything. Her hair's down. She undid most of her braids when you left the ship. As she's looking around, R8 kind of beeps and boops, but before she can say anything to him, she kind of reacts as if she's hearing something. Like a faint whisper or call out. She begins moving off toward one of the staircases to the side of the room that head downward as she's listening to the voice call out. With that, we'll go now to another starship beginning to make its descent toward the planet, containing the rest of our heroes, Sidani, Talia, Castum, Zura, Banata, and their new traveling companion, rather interesting gentleman named Gideon that they met on Rossaswai. As Sidani's ship touches down, begins to get hissing noises from the landing struts. See this group of 6 disembark from the ship. Talia sporting a new cybernetic hand that was quickly but well constructed by Castum. Before you left Rossaswai, after saving the Lady Farah from bounty hunters, you did have time to enjoy the rest of the festival with the lady and your roguish friends, Phoenix, Safra, and Gam. Before the festival ended, Phoenix invited you all to come to Takodana to finally meet their boss, the one who they follow and go on all these missions against Maximus for, and find out a bit more. And as you left the world, you made contact with Soul and found out that they were also heading here, so you plan to all meet up once you arrived. As the 6 of you leave the dock where your ship is stationed, you are now in the middle of the city, meeting the same sights and sounds, but getting a rather different description from Gideon, who knows a little bit about this place than the others were getting from Darren. Gideon, as you're all entering the city, is instead focusing on very different things, talking about the tactical design and flow of the city so that if it were attacked by any authority such as the Empire or something like that, that there was a very easy way to defend and to use the nearby surrounding forests to cover and fight. And also then focusing on a lot of the banners and artworks, talking about how they denote the various factions and who lives here and the importance of certain places and buildings. And that way, if you're part of any gangs or groups that might have rivalries, you can usually look to the banners and find out, oh, I should go in here or I should not. So these are the kind of things you all would be hearing from Gideon as you are entering the city. As you are heading toward the large castle, which is where you were told you would meet Phoenix and that group, you would see a rather large meal in progress and recognize your friends, Sol and Grumblock.
Sol is way too concentrated on trying to eat as much food to pay attention to who's around him.
Not even 5 minutes, and we already find you having a picnic.
It's nice of you to have ordered for everyone, though.
I'm trying to concentrate here. We're in a contest.
Oh.
Please,
Sol.
Skywalker, don't be so rude. Introduce me to your companions.
Sorry, everyone. We will pause the contest as he's looking at Grumblock to put the food down. Like, this is my sister Talia, Castum, Sidani. I don't know who that guy is. Sort of, or I don't think Sol's met Zura either, right?
You would have met Zura, yes, because you would have met her before the others went off to go to the festival with Sid.
Yeah, so Zura and... Sorry, sir, you're with the wrong group.
His name is Gideon.
And
This
Gideon, this is my brother Sol and Grumblock.
I have to ask, I know Talia has the highest brawn. Does she appear visibly muscular?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah.
She's pretty fit.
Grumblock will stare at Talia and say, "This one must be the leader."
Oh, no.
Vanada,
I'm the doctor.
Vanada crosses her arms and looks between herself and Sid. Like, really?
Yeah, Sid's trying not to laugh.
As flattering as that is, that's not my job description. You're looking at the two princesses. I'm the doctor.
But clearly, you are the strongest.
She just kind of pauses at that one, kind of looks to the rest, and then back to Grumblock. Just
Sid will point to whichever arm is the, I think it was the right one, that's the cybernetic, and we'll just kind of mouth,
Left.
"It's the arm." Sorry, left. It's the arm.
regardless, no, it's not just strength that decides leadership of this group. There's other things.
After after Sid says that, Cass will probably just turn and be like, "What about the arm?"
That's why he thinks she's the leader. it stands out. It's impressive, you know, sculpted.
Well, it's true. You did fine work on it, Cass. Although I don't think you gave me any maximum strength in the hand.
Ah, so you have more power yet to be attained.
That's one way to put it.
She does have other limbs she could lose.
Yeah. At this, like, Soul finally put it all together. He's like staring at like, and sort of runs over to like Talia and is like, "What?" And sort of grabs her arm, like, "What? What happened?"
Talia gives Sidani a very sharp glare at the last thing she says, but as Sol runs up, she just kind of holds up the left hand and let's just say we met our friends Misa and Gildergo, and I didn't quite make it out of that one unscathed.
At that, Soul give Talia a hug and just sort of say, like, "I told you were more of a Skywalker than me." Trying to ease the tension.
She hugs him back really tightly, and I think she does kind of laugh at that one, but she's obviously kind of still bitter about it. And well, I think we all had bets on it being you, so
I mean, that's what I put my money on.
guess I owe you some credits.
Well, we can discuss our adventures later. In fact, if you guys run into Ray and he looks over at like Sid, perhaps you should take her out for a girls' adventure. She really needs it right now.
So he just kind of looks around. She does? Where is she?
She went towards the castle already.
What did you do?
Not left Revenant to die. Soul sort of says questioning because he doesn't really, like, he knows what he did, but not doesn't know how to explain the whole thing.
Yeah, that laugh would have been Vanada.
I see. I'll check up on her if I see her.
Speaking of, though, Sid will turn to Venata. Do you see your boyfriend anywhere?
After her cheeks get a little red, she stops laughing and shakes her head.
All right, well, more people to keep an eye out for.
Gideon seems to be just taking in Soul and Grumblock as well as the meal they are consuming. He is not getting anywhere close enough to eat it, though.
Oh yeah, Soul, like, oh yeah, pardon my manners, Soul Skywalker, and he reaches out his hand, like, still holding like a hunk of the meat, like, like towards him.
Yeah. He keeps his hands to himself and just says, as I was introduced, I am Gideon. Yes, I do see the Skywalker resemblance between you and your sister and your lineage. And you just see a look of almost disgust, but not quite. And as he kind of turns his attention more to Grumblock for a moment. It looks like he's probably just assessing how old Grumblock is based on his size and general look before being slightly impressed and returning to Sidani's side, since he seems to be predominantly following her lead.
Interesting.
If your group has no pressing concerns, perhaps you would care to share a meal with us and tell us your purpose on Takadana.
Sure. The meal looks good. Which. Uh, who's giving up
This
part of the half?
this gurney is ours. I shall summon another. And Grumblock will bellow out in Dewuta.
Yeah, Soul drop his hunk meat and start grabbing chairs and pulling them up to like around the table beside us, so there's room for everybody.
Well, you said you were
Okay.
having a competition. I bet a lot of us can maybe make a small dent in this before Grumblock wins.
I mean, if you don't think I could win, I mean, I guess we could tag team it.
If you wish to bow out now, Skywalker, I will accept your surrender.
I would never. And Soul's gonna sit on Grumblock's side that has the 85%, like the bigger portion.
Then let us continue. Please, friends, dig in. Help yourselves.
Banada and Gideon both look at the meal and look at each other and just shake their heads like, nah.
Yeah, what other delicacies do they serve here?
Yeah, if you look around at like other vendors, you can definitely see some both more artisanal stuff, which is definitely seems to be what Gideon looks toward, but you also see like even just kind of meat skewers and stuff like that that are a little more manageable looking to eat, like meat and fruit kind of cooked skewers, and that seems to be more where Vanada's gravitating towards, something where it's like she can still participate with everyone's meal but have something a little cleanlier to work on.
Yeah, I think I'm going to do the same.
So
Meat skewers and fruit.
So that's what they do. Gideon seems to reluctantly join you, determining, you know, that's better than the chaos that I presume Talia and Zura just join into, and
Oh yeah.
Astum sits with everyone else, I presume.
There's a competition now.
Zura would probably also just get something a little bit more manageable and just kind of eats a little more distractedly than normal.
After seeing them with fruit, Soul sort of pulls out like a little cube out of the mess, everything, like there was fruit in this.
These stalks are excellently boiled.
Oh boy. So as you continue on with your meal, we will for a moment go away from the world of Takadana, across the galaxy to the core planet of Bastion, Imperial stronghold, capital of the Fell Empire, where a Imperial knighting ceremony is currently underway. very nervous, but confidently, like, standing tall man with dark skin and dark hair, neatly trimmed and cleaned up. It's clearly adjusting to wearing his crimson red armor for the first time. As another man with lighter skin and full kind of beard going around and hair tied up in a bun says, "I welcome you, Finn Derek, to the Imperial Knights. May your service to our Emperor to the light." True. And you see Finn kind of roll his shoulders back as the man claps a hand on his shoulder and hands him a simple but still well-designed lightsaber hilt. He takes it and places his hands forward and turns it on, a brilliant white blade erupting from it. Not too far behind, you see a small group gathered watching, including Lieutenant Avalon Tachi, who's clapping and kind of almost cheering for him. Not too far behind her, just a few rows back amongst higher level officials, is her mother, Moff Arcadia Tachi. And as Finn completes his display with the blade and clips it back to his belt, he bows to the man who handed him the hilt and who kind of smiles and returns it to a lesser degree. As Finn stands up straight, the two men begin to walk off away from the platform where the ceremony was taking place. You can see other people with crimson armor around, so Finn was likely the last one to be knighted of this group. As he walks, he nods to himself and says, "I appreciate this, Master Hiroshi, and I am honored to be working with you." He nods to Finn and puts his hand back on his shoulder and says, "You have put in a lot of good effort yourself. Very glad that Lieutenant Tachi brought you to us." They kind of nod to each other. Scene fades out, and we are back to Takadana and everyone working away at their meals. As R2-D2 finally rolls up by Soul and Talia's side, be bopping at them as they're doing their best to beat Grumblock. So far, I'd say not to any tangible success.
while eating, Soul will start describing their adventure and running into Arcos Vane and the armor and the gauntlet and stuff, and describing it to him.
What do you think he wanted with it?
He wanted to rule and set his version of the Empire upon the galaxy, with him at the helm.
That's not concerning.
Yeah, we should probably warn the Empire.
He had troopers with him. He seemed to have his own followers that broke off.
All the more reason if there's now a dissident group, and with the state that the Empire has been in.
Bernardo will
Okay.
speak. Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Bernardo will speak up and say, I can organize a diplomatic authorization to Bastion if we go straight to high command with this. Might be able to avoid
Avoid what?
spies.
Yes, that would be very helpful. Thank you, Princess.
Sid will take out a data pad and a stylus. Could you describe what he looked like?
Yeah, Soul began to describe like Argos Vane and his armor and like the clearly Imperial like knight. Like he had a pike, right, or was it a regular saber?
The regular saber. It was,
Okay,
and
yeah.
it was the white, like, Imperial Knight saber, which you would know that it was. The only difference was that his armor clearly had been repainted somewhat, but it was still, like, Imperial Knight design.
Yeah, and then Soul described how the other troopers, how theirs was, like, repainted and they had a symbol painted on, didn't they? Or stripes or something, like some type of indicator?
Yeah, just kind of a stripe marking.
All right. And you'll see Sid just with a holographic display of a block that the style of the show kind of start carving away at into a rather simple hologram, nothing too complex, but somewhat in the vein you described as she eats.
Draw a dark and malevolent aura of misguided rage.
Yeah. Soul let Grumblock describe the gauntlet too, because he probably has more of a eye for detail on objects than Soul.
Yeah, and Grumblock actually held it too.
What's the gauntlet do?
It is a conduit for the dark side.
Fallen Imperial Knight with a conduit for the dark side. That's not a good combination.
Yeah, he seemed to be able to focus it as he was able to take the energy into the saber as he struck.
Gideon has just been quietly eating, but I'll say that is unlike anything I have ever heard.
We were hoping that by coming here, perhaps he may have learned of its location from someone here. Or perhaps someone here may know anything about it. Regardless.
The Jedi archives do not typically contain knowledge of Sith artifacts.
Who here would likely know of a Sith artifact, though?
Our friend Darran is a treasure hunter of some kind. He has benefactors in the castle there, who are collectors.
Sid just kind of looks toward Gideon.
Seems plausible. I may know one or two. This is not quite my usual environment.
We'll have to ask. And
I will reach out to my contacts here. As he looks at Gideon. Still not knowing who he is, really.
You get a feeling Gideon, on the other hand, knows exactly who you are just from the meal.
I am curious of all of this need for contacts and hidden messages. Why do we not simply approach the owner of the castle and request the knowledge that they hold?
Because they can say no.
because we might be meeting with them already, depending on who they actually are.
You can do it your way. I will do it mine.
R2, to this, R2 kind of just beeps and boops and tells Soul he's gonna head toward the castle and kind of rolls off.
See you later, Uncle. Soul says out loud to everyone.
You see Gideon raise an eyebrow. Vanada's obviously used to it.
I am feeling magnanimous, Skywalkers. I will allow you to consider this a draw.
That is very humble of you.
On behalf of both of us, I'm going to accept that. Because I'm not going to test fate nor the rest of this meal in besting you.
This one is wiser than you, Soul.
That I am certain of, as I was about to propose drinks later.
During all this, is Castamans or are either of you doing anything?
Not really. Zer's just kind of more or less looking off in the distance, just really than paying attention to anything.
I think Cass might have been looking for something that he could technically, well, not technically, but eat, as he doesn't technically eat normally, but
Yeah. I'd say you'd be able to find stuff here. It's pretty varied options, so you'd have been able to find something and come back. Yeah, as you all work to finish your meals and presumably get ready to move on, we fade back to the castle. where Ray is very slowly walking into the lower levels, dim lights and damp walls. Clearly the vault area that Darren was mentioning. As she walks forward, she's very clearly listening. There are faint whispers of voices of a little girl yelling and screaming and seeming from frustration, and sound of starfighter engines and lasers, and an older feminine voice as she moves toward one of the vault entrances. It's open. It seems to be a collection of boxes and chests and a few wall hangings. As she moves toward one of the chests and opens it, there is a about 1-2 inch thick silver hexagonal piece with a little red stone in the center. About 6 inches in each direction in overall size. As she picks up this hexagonal disc, the center stone begins to glow. Seems like a little decoration of stars emerges from it, similar to a star chart, but seemingly using Takadana as one end, almost like a galactic compass. He looks confused and R8 beeps and just kind of sits down, crosses her legs slightly, and is that it? Now we return to the party as you are making your way up the steps toward the large castle, immediately greeted by the roar of music and sounds as you enter into that initial area as described earlier.
Grumblock will approach one of the people in this castle and say, "Which one is the leader? I demand the knowledge they hold."
We're we're here looking for someone in particular, like no the large one. They did we get a name from our roguish friends?
No, Phoenix just said when you get there, one of them will meet you.
Alright, we're looking for the Phoenix and Saf. Are either of them around? Maybe Lux?
We'll say Grumblock and Sidani make a combined streetwise check here, whichever one's better, the other assists.
I have a 1 cunning, so.
Okay, then.
Okay,
I have
so,
3 green.
A boost to Sidani's streetwise here for 2 difficulty and a setback. Clearly the one you're talking, they just ignore Grimlock outright, but the clearly the one you're talking to, when you say Phoenix and Saf, there's definitely a look of recognition, but they just say, yeah, they're in and out a lot. Sorry.
It's not a problem. Can we go in and have a look for ourselves? Is there a waiting area inside, perhaps?
And he looks at you like it's a bar, and he walks past like.
Stranger, is the one called Darren Silva here?
You see, you don't get any verbal response to that, but you do hear a loud like cheer, and looks like a group of people like rowdily drinking in one of the corners, and Darren seems to be in the middle and storytelling.
Come, meet our treasure hunter friend.
Does everyone go off toward Darren, or does anyone split off for other?
No, Sol is splitting off from this group to go in the corner and call Iris.
I mean, we can go look around, see if we see our friends anywhere.
Yeah, I'll go with Sid.
Zura splits off to look around for herself as well.
Custom, that leaves you to go with Grumblock to meet Darren. Everyone else was like, nah, we're out, thanks.
Everyone's rude to Grumblock.
Oh, I guess I'm going with him because I don't want him to go alone.
So yeah, as you all split off, we'll start with Zura. What's Zura doing?
Zura is going to look around for any deep space explorers and or hunters. People that go off the well-known paths, so to speak.
Okay. Streetwise check against just 3 difficulty. Okay. Yeah, you're able to find a small group of people who look like they head toward the fringes. They're asking around a bit. And take 2 strain from all the jostling around and getting spit in your face by some aliens and such.
But as Zura will approach them, any of you would y'all happen to have any star maps or data not found in most astrogation charts by chance?
A small alien. You don't recognize the species, but he has kind of 4 arms, a sunken down in, kind of spider-like head, and 2 thin legs. What you looking for?
Well, I'm mostly looking for, like, any navigational hazards past the outer rim that aren't well known or new.
What's it to ya?
My brother disappeared, and I just I want to know if there's a way I can track him based on where he last was, and if he ran into any trouble that his navicomputer wouldn't have prepared him for.
Kind of walk around and begin talking to the others. Do you say anything else while they're talking, or do anything else?
She puts 500 credits on the table.
They come by to take the small one comes by to take the credits and brings it back over to the others. You see one of them pulls something out of their bag. It seems to be something for a starship. And he comes back with it, saying, "Hey, we got this for you. Maybe help."
I appreciate it. I'll give it a look. Thank you.
Yeah, it's just kind of pressed into your hand and go off back to what they were doing.
Zero will just find somewhere quiet to sit and just look over the item.
Yeah, you're able to access a little bit of it on it, but it's clearly meant to interface with like a ship system. But basically you can see that it's for an area, the unknown regions, that kind of covers some basic hazards that would not be, as you were mentioning, not be on star charts.
I have a handheld navicomputer. Well, this is probably something I want R2's help with anyway, so I'll just take good care of it.
Okay. Once you're done, do you join any of the others?
Try to slide back in with Cassim and Grumblock like I never even left.
Okay. So yeah, as you do that, Soul,
Yes.
you wanted to make a call.
Yeah, he's just gonna like sort of find a corner he can lean up against, and so that way the rowdiness of the bar he can make his goal.
So you're just trying to contact her via comlink, see if she's within range?
Yeah.
You do get a response, like a in range response, but non-activation. Probably waiting for you to talk first.
Yeah. So after being notified of that, so I'll just go like, yes. There's a request for an Iris at the bar. There's some handsome gentleman needing to speak with her.
You get a voice that's very clearly Iris in response saying, I'm afraid that request can't be fulfilled. If you go up to level 3, I'm sure you'll find what you're looking for.
Don't know if he'll have time, but I'll ask him. Yeah, Soul's clearly going to be going up to level 3.
Yep, so you head toward one of the spiral staircases in the middle of the room that begin to go up into further into the main tower of the castle. You would be able to tell as you're going up that you started on level 1, so you have to go up to basically 2 levels. And so Sidani, Talia, and Venata are hoping to encounter your roguish friends.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds about right.
So what are you doing in the meantime?
Looking around, enjoying a drink. What do they have at the bar? Like any games or something like that? Any dessert going on? Sabak?
You see like personal, like 2 people next to each other playing some kind of stuff, but nothing like set up. Also, as far as Gideon goes, he's been by the entrance inspecting all the like banners that are there when you come inside. So that's why he's that's why I said he wasn't with you guys.
Gotcha.
But you can see him still, is why I wanted to call it out. You see Venata kind of nervously tapping, like she's like waiting.
Did they have to give us a comm number or something?
They did not.
Doesn't Venata still have Phoenix's comm from like ages ago?
There was definitely an impression given on Ross's slide that probably was an ever-shifting comm number.
Fair enough.
And yeah, so as you're all awkwardly waiting there, Venata does her comm does begin to go off, but it's coming from your ship, Sidani, being routed through it. She looks a little confused and activates it and looks to you and says, we're getting contacted by Hapes. I'll go see what that's about. You stay here.
You sure?
She looks a little, you can tell that she's uncomfortable, but she does nod.
I mean, I could take the call from Hapes and you can meet the Phoenix when he comes by.
No, it's okay.
Oh,
They asked
alright.
for me.
Sid just kind of nods.
And she moves toward the exit, and as she passes by, Gideon notices and begins to make his way toward the two of you to kind of take her place. See him order a very, like, smooth, simple drink, as opposed to some of the more elaborate or alien ones that the bar offers.
I'm wondering what that's about, but oh,
I'm sure she'll
Mm.
catch you up on whatever it is when she comes back.
yeah.
So, as the three of you wait at the bar, coming down one of the spiral stairs, Talia, you would recognize a certain blue skin, silver hair, good looking fella.
Yay!
The another member of Phoenix's group, Lux Orphos. Last met in rather difficult circumstances on Oro, but
Yeah, Talia would hesitate for half a second and then kind of go to the doorway and see if she can't get his attention.
All the while, Sid's kind of giving her oh, I see kind of look.
as he reaches the bottom of the stairs, and you are obviously waiting by them, he kind of looks a little surprised. He adjusts his kind of dark brown jacket a little bit, the trench coat falling from the jacket, shifting just a bit, and says, Talia.
Hey, Lex, it's been a while.
It's, yeah, it has.
I know there's a lot that could be said, but we're all here right now on Phoenix's invitation. If you run into him at some point, let him know we're here.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm down here. They're up there. So, are you alone, or?
No, Sidani and, well, no, everybody's here. But,
He just kind of slowly nods.
I'm glad to see you, though. I know the last time we met, nothing was, quite favorable.
Yeah, just a little rough.
Phoenix was, telling me that Sender's alive, at least. I
Yeah,
know, I'm glad to hear it. I know Kadas would have been too.
he just nods. We'll deal with that later.
So if they're all up there, where are you coming down?
You and others.
I can go get them then.
He just kind of nods and leans against the staircase. There's multiple spiral staircases, by the way, so as he's leaning against one soul, you'd be like running up a different one.
Okay.
Yeah, Tolly would kind of just pause for a second, but then nod her herself and trying to go get Sid and Gideon.
I see. So, have you set a date for tonight? Are you and him going to see a hollow flick, or just dinner, or what's the plan here?
Seeing if we can get past the awkwardness of, oh hey, I helped get your friend captured and she's now exiled. And also missing limbs.
Gideon raises both eyebrows. And
Tell you, it
finishes
just
his
doesn't even
drink.
look at
People have
Gideon.
gotten over worse for love. Sid is going to take out her comm and briefly message Fanata, probably via, if they have like a text feature or something, to just notify her when she gets back.
Right.
Regardless, they're waiting for us upstairs, and as it happens, Sidani, I don't have your charm with people, so
Well then, what are we waiting for?
Gideon adjusts his glasses visor and and puts his arm out for you to proceed.
And proceed we do.
Yeah, as the three of you approach Lux, Lux does react with a little bit of confusion. It's just, I think they thought there'd be more of you.
we're a bit scattered at the moment. I'll calm the
Right.
others to meet us upstairs. And
So,
Talia will do that as they're walking.
Yeah, so he leads you up to the second floor and starts leading you toward one of the edges. Seems to be an outdoor area where some people are talking and gathering around. As you're approaching this area, you can see Safra hanging upside down by ribbons. She looks like she could be asleep, but she probably isn't. And she just seems to be hanging from one of the things that are set up to hold all the various flags and banners. So you just see her kind of hanging from that.
I swear that woman probably should have been born with wings.
The Phoenix and Gam are at a table playing like your best guess would be playing Sabacc together. And standing at the edge looking out down over kind of the sea of people in the town, you see a really finely dressed drapingly long gold cape coming from shoulders to the ground. Mixture of dark blues and light browns on kind of a leather and almost silky mix on the shoulders. Medium length pitch black hair against dark skin as a man spins around and eyes you all up with hands clasped. No beard, but you can definitely tell he could have one if he wanted to. Just the littlest signs of roughness to it. And your best guess age-wise is probably 40s. but looks very good for his age. He just, with a quick smile, he puts his arms out wide and says, "Ah, there you are."
Sid kind of gives a little wave. Hello.
Gideon just stops in his tracks like I'm not getting any closer to this guy. But he has his arms out open in like a hug-like way as he approaches the Sid and Talia. He says, "Oh, look at you, just like your parents."
Thank you.
Oh, friend of the family, huh?
He comes in to hug you both basically at the same time, if you allow him to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He just pulls the two of you into to one big hug and says, "Oh, it's been so long since I've seen any of you." And you can tell at this point, Saphra's eye, by the way, like looking past his shoulders, Saphra's eyes are open, like surprised as she's hanging, like her mouth is open a little bit. And you see Phoenix and Gam have just stopped their game. Like, what, really? And with a big squeezing hug to both of you, he pulls back and says, Sorry, I saw you." And he looks at Sid in particular and says, "It's like seeing my best friend back. Chance Calrissian. Nice to meet you."
Well, Matt Carosian.
It's a pleasure to meet you at last.
Yes,
You-
Siani, this is Talia, but I assume you already know that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Talia, you would recognize, upon him saying it, you would recognize the name as being one that Ben's mentioned before, but not in enough detail for you to really know beyond it was mentioned friendly. So, what he's saying appears to be true.
Yeah, that's good. She just is very polite then and smiles and kind of just takes that in stride of, okay.
Like, okay, come on, take a seat. Your uptight friend too.
Right, this is Gideon. And Sid will say as she takes a seat.
Gideon and Chance kind of shake hands, but you can tell the moment they shake hands, they seem to like stare at each other for a moment. And Chance, like, when he, like, their hands separate, Chance's fingers like move away as if like he's avoiding touching a bug. He kind of just sort of delicately moves his fingers in a bit tightly and approaches toward a table, the one he offered the rest of you. The others seem to be getting up and kind of walking around. Saphra is slowly lowering herself down and unhooking her ribbons from the flag and kind of pulling them in toward herself. As you all kind of gather around this central point, he just sits down and says, "Had I known that we were dealing with family, I would have invited you all here much sooner."
Well, we've had plenty of time to catch up now, I suppose. I do believe my father's mentioned your name before, and though I'm sorry to say I can't quite place it beyond that.
I'd hope so. I got him that nice arm he wears.
Oh, is that it? Explains why he speaks of you so fondly, then.
He just laughs and grabs a drink that had already been sitting on the table. What do you do as far as sitting, standing, etc.?
Oh, yeah, she's definitely gonna take a seat at the table.
Lux will sit down next to Talia, but kind of leaning back, grabbing a drink as well, and sort of like close to Talia, but also leaning away from her at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I suppose in all fairness, Sid's probably picked a seat at the table that she could keep an eye on Saphra, so...
Yeah, speaking of which, Phoenix and Gam kind of stay close to each other, just sort of standing and nearby. You can tell that they're still, like, quietly talking about their game that they were playing. And Gideon is staying standing as well. He seems to be kind of just assessing them all, as he seems to want to do. And Saphra makes her way around the table. She's currently in a keeping with kind of the one-piece swimsuit outfit vibe. She is still dressed in that way, arms and legs fully exposed, just her torso covered. Her hair is not decorated in any way, just kind of long out and flowing, and the ribbons as per usual around her shoulders and arms, and she just walks over and sort of where Sidani would be sitting and sort of gently rests an elbow on one of Sidani's shoulders.
So, Tarzan, you wanted to meet us, and I suppose we should start by saying an apology of what happened with previously between our two groups.
And you see his expression finally turn serious after this whole time of being fairly jovial outside of the handshake with Gideon. And he kind of lowers his voice for a moment and says, "Yeah, it's a real shame about Cinder. Suppose an explanation is owed about that." And everyone kind of is paying attention at this point, because you can tell not everyone's heard everything, so kind of taking this opportunity to talk about it. So back when your parents and I would travel around, having our little adventures, well, while they were off doing Jedi things, I was helping the Mandalorians with a problem. You see, there was a virus on Mandalore that affected the Fett bloodline. My father, Lando, and I, we were trying to help him out. Been working with him for a number of years on it, and well, we figured it out, and we did it, and I helped. She's Mandalore now, but Murta, I helped her figure it out, and she promised on the honor of the Fett clan that if I ever needed anything that owed a debt of gratitude for allowing them to live on Mandalore. And so, Cinder, being her daughter, I suppose she learned about this from her mother, but I'm sure Phoenix and the others have told you I'm in a quiet war with a man named Maximus Peldot. He and I, well, let's just say I'd like to see the underworld stay the way it is. He'd like to unite it as a crime king. And in an effort to prevent me from interfering with his plans anymore, he ordered a Mandalorian squad to take me out. You see him kind of pause and take a sip of his drink. 4 Mandalorians. Cinder was one of them. They weren't told who the target was. They accepted the contract. When they found out that it was me, Cinder tried to get them to back out. They refused. So, as part of her family's debt to me, fought against them to save my life.
I see. Sorry it played out that way. It's quite a story.
It explains quite a lot.
The Mandalorians wouldn't have taken that contract if they knew who I was. But it was too late. So Cinder continued to work with me, in an effort to expose Maximus and try to find a way to prove to the Mandalorians that Maximus had intentionally done this. She, well, was found by her friend before she could do so. But Mandalorians weren't wrong to bring her in. I can only hope someday we've stopped Maximus, that make things right for her.
Someday, and hopefully someday soon. What can we do to help bring down Maximus?
This is the first time Gideon has spoken this whole point, and says, Yes, I think enough of us have acknowledged that he is a threat. Chance just leans back and says, well, part of how we, and he kind of looks to the others, stay alive is by being a tight group. So, afraid I can't ask you to join us, but you want to help us with Maximus, sure, we can stay in touch.
Of course, that is why you invited us here.
Well, I invited you to be the children of best friends.
How long has it been since you've seen them? My parents.
Afraid I never really knew your mother, Elia.
It's okay, I didn't either.
But last I saw Ben was about 10 years ago.
Well, next time I see him, I'll be sure to let him know. I'm sure he'd be happy to hear.
Yeah, maybe once this is all over with Maximus, we'll meet up.
What was she like?
He looks to you and
The Jedi Queen, I mean.
Allana, he kind of corrects you when saying it. Allana was fantastic. And he just takes a sip of his drink. We played together as kids. Loved animals. Brave. Best Jedi I ever knew.
She just kind of nods along. Would love to hear some of your stories, but that's probably best hold off on until my sister gets back.
And he nods and says, right. Phoenix mentioned.
Oh, I'm sure he did. She'll give a kind of look over at Phoenix. Maybe mouth, yeah, she's here, don't worry. She'll be back soon enough, kind of thing.
And so as you're all kind of drinking and talking, we will go now to Grumblock and Castum. Zora is not yet with you as you approach the rowdy table where Darren's clearly talking about his time on Aethys. But by the way, Darren's droid Lucky was still hanging out on the Jade Shadow, getting a charge from the ship before. So that's in case you're wondering, that's where Lucky's at.
Darren, you would tell tale of Aphis and not introduce one of the people who saved your life?
And all the kind of rogues and pirates and fellow treasure hunters all kind of turn around and like, oh! The one offers you a drink, and brings you over, and Darren says, "I was just getting to that part. You took longer than I expected."
I had an eating contest.
Hope it wasn't anyone I knew.
I defeated the sibling Skywalker in the consumption of meat.
He just kind of laughs and kind of slides off the table. He moves over. TA says, "Yeah, this is Grumblock, one of the ones who saved me." You could tell he was about to call you a Jedi and then stopped and pats your arm like, "Sorry." And then says, "So what you want to know about Grum? I mentioned to him that you and Soul would be getting in here. Well, they're friends, but anyway. Where's Soul?"
He has taken up other business. He was speaking to a contact.
"Oh, that business. Okay." He kind of nods and his head and returns.
Tell me, friend, do any of you know the name Arcos Vane?
They kind of all look around at each other for a moment, and kind of most of them seem to be shaking their heads or unsure.
How many of them are lying?
What's your discipline?
For the purpose of this, it'd be 4 red.
Oh. You can tell that maybe 1 or 2 probably have heard the name, but are either they don't think they know enough, so they're shaking their heads or looking confused, or they obviously aren't willing to say. But you can pick out 1 or 2 that feel off.
Friends, any information that you have would be a welcome start.
Castum, are you saying or doing anything as this is all holding?
Looking around the room, I guess.
Okay.
Just seeing if anything suspicious.
Okay. Zura, you would be over here as well by this point.
Good to know.
Okay. Castum, make a perception check against 3 purple. Okay. So suspicious isn't quite the right word, but you see a lot of like banner ruffling and like you can hear little metallic sounds knocking over and something's happening in another room nearby.
I guess then I'll just lean over. I was gonna say lean over and just like whisper to Grumblock, but he's like what, like a foot and a half taller than.
He is 10.5 feet tall.
Okay, so 4 feet taller than Cass, who's 6 feet tall. Just whisper. I heard something a little off. I'm gonna go check it out. Be right back.
Understood, little one.
Does Zura follow or stay with Grumblock?
Zura will just kind of look at Cass and just, you gonna be all right?
Yeah, he'll just give like a thumbs up,
All right.
and then stealth up there.
Okay. So you want to stealth over to where the stuff
The
is
sound
happening?
was the sound of what may or may not be fighting happening.
All right, 3 red and a purple.
And you know what? I'm gonna use Master of Shadows because why not?
As you stealthily move past the fluttering banner and get to the side of where all the crashing and various noises are coming from, you see what looks to be an astromech dome head like go rolling past. It's not R2, but it looks a lot like R2. You just see the dome head of an astromech roll past, and other various droid parts, anything that's a cylinder, kind of just rolling past. And you see what looks to be another little alien like the one Zura encountered, but different and dressed in like gray. And he's like screaming and yelling and kind of knocking into various droid parts that are like in this corner. As you see R2-D2 like using his thrusters to jump over little pieces that are flown his way and other things with his and he has his little like fusion torch out, like kind of threatening this guy.
Just kind of go, what's happening here?
Do you say that out loud enough to...
Yeah.
And you have to see a part like thrown toward you and like, get this droid away! It's like... And he kind of moves around like he's trying to like climb away from R2. And R2 floats up after him and shocks him with the stun part of his hold, and the guy stumbles and falls, and you just see a crash of parts hit the ground as the guy kind of lands.
What's going on here? What happened? Why are you doing this?
You hear R2 start beeping. Basically, what you can gather is he has something R2 wants, and he won't give it to R2.
Did he take it from you, or is it just something you want?
Best you can make out, because R2 is still like chasing after this guy and kind of making angry noises, and like the angry beeps. And the best you can gather is he took his friend and he wants him back.
All right, so I'm gonna walk over. I'm gonna grab R2 and kind of like not wrestle with him, but just like come on, like calm down, and just turn around and be like, okay, so you took something from him and he wants it back. What'd you take?
Crazy droid! This
Then
is
I'm
my
gonna-
junk! It's all my junk! I found it, it's mine!
And I'm
you
gonna
see
lean
him
over.
start picking up some of the parts and putting it on the pile.
And I'm gonna lean over and go again and ask, you took something from him. What did you take?
Never seen that droid before in my life! And at this point, R2 switches from the little shock thing to his full-blown fusion cutter, and you just see like a little flame jet come out.
I think he's getting a bit tired with your lies.
Oh. You see him start. Fine, 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 and you see him start digging into the pile of parts. He can tell that with you there, he's just like, this ain't happening. So he begins digging and searching, and you see a few like kind of rusted and sort of faded golden like metallic pieces getting thrown out of the various parts.
Oh.
And eventually you see what seems to be a protocol droid head get flung out, and R2 immediately tries to like move to grab it.
All right. Well, I guess I will help him gather whatever pieces. And then I'm going to be nice because R2 just attacks him for this. And I will hand him 150 credits. I know it's not much, and just be like, I'm sorry for his attitude.
Yeah, man. He just takes the credits, and you could see him like picking up a couple of the like paneling parts to use as like a shield, and sort of pulls himself back into. He's like trying to. You could tell this was once a stall, and in arguing with R2, you could see like pieces of the stall definitely came apart and like collapsed, and that's why it's just this big mess of parts at this point. Yeah, the parts you're able to gather, it looks like a gold, kind of semi-rusted, semi-silver, golden, protocol droid. It looks like you can get a head and kind of some, like, chest, upper body parts. That seems to be all that's really there. Enough to make, basically, if you wanted, like, a bust, almost of a, like, a bust to, like, a creation.
All right, then.
And you just see R2 like kind of indicating to you that he wants to fix him.
All right, but you can't just be attacking people. I know. This is important to you.
So yeah, if you R2 indicates to you he'll take it back to the ship if you kind of help like get the pieces on him, kind of thing.
Yeah, I'll help him.
Yeah. So you're able to take just a bit of rope and rigging that's just sort of all around everywhere and kind of attach it to him, and then he starts heading off to leave the tower. And we go back to Grumblock and Zura with Darren. And Darren's kind of helped clear some of the others out so the more nervous guys can speak, and you just see a pair of them kind of leaning together saying, well, we heard the name a little bit. There's this lady, her name's Vitania, and Vitania Vornis, and we believe she might know about your vein guy. She's upstairs in a hot sabak streak.
Grublock's gonna look over to Zora and say, are you any good at cards?
Azure just kind of shrugs. It's I'm not very good at bluffing.
Hmm. Are any of the group good at deception?
He- Cass has a 2 yellow, 1 green.
Oh, sounds like Cass just got volunteered.
Well, I'm gonna look at my new friend Darren and ask him how good he is at sabacc.
Uh, well, I've played a few times, I guess.
Then let us go and find this Vitania. In exchange for the information you have provided, my nervous friends, ask for a piece of information and I shall provide this to you.
They look at each other and then look at you and just like, oh no, that's fine. We haven't provided much. We don't need much. And they just go back to drinking their drinks and kind of. They seem more nervous about being included in this little venture to see Vitania than getting something out of it.
I will remember your kindness. If you're in need of knowledge, come to the world of Osis and find me.
And with that, Darren begins to lead you to the stairs as we go back to Seoul at the top of the stairs on floor 3. As you begin to reach a sabacc table yourself, Seoul, where it's hard to miss the dark purple hair, light pink skin, dressed in a very little covering black top covered in a tight black jacket and shorts, knee-high black-heeled boots. You see the beautiful Zeltron Iris locked in a very tight game, it seems. There's a lot of people around watching, some cheering, a few playing. It's not just her and someone else, but you can tell that most of the crowd is centered around her and someone on the opposite end of the table. A woman in probably late 20s, early 30s, very muscular, kind of short blonde hair with kind of a rough expression, and it seems like the two of them are in this tight game as you approach.
Yeah, Soul just gonna grab like some random drinks to bring over and work his way through the crowd to stand behind Iris and set the drink beside her.
She looks at the drink and up at you, and you see her look out to her opponent and says, "You're in trouble now, Vitania. My good luck charm has arrived."
At that, Soul's just gonna like kiss her on the side of the cheek, like for luck.
And you see them continue to play, and as they do, we fade back down to the lower level vaults, where Ray is beginning to stand up with the silver disc device in her hand, and she looks to R8 and kind of beckons him to come with her as she begins kind of moving toward the vault exit. Seems to be heading out of the castle entirely. Her way back toward the Jade Shadow. And as she runs off through the streets, power hanging over it all, that is where we'll end this episode. We'll see you back next time.